Ladies and gentlemen, my esteemed guest today on the 3rd of June 2020, on this rainy, windy day, is Mr. Ajit Singh, Chairman, ACG Worldwide, the Associated Capsules Group of Companies, the leader in pharma ancillaries, packaging films, and machinery business. ACG is Asia's largest capsule and related machinery and packaging manufacturer, and the second largest manufacturer of capsules in the world. It's all in the name. They export 50% of their production to across 100 countries worldwide. A very warm welcome to you, Mr. Singh, to Insights with Nidhi, and thank you very much for giving us the time today.
Thank you, Nidhi, for that introduction. Even my mother couldn't have done a better job. Thank you.
Appreciate, sir. Yours is one industry servicing pharma sector where demand would have probably gone up during this pandemic. Was maintaining the supply a major challenge, sir?
They were not able to connect with their doctors nor meet them, and therefore doctors wrote less prescriptions, and so the demand went down a bit. It's still variable, but I hope demand will remain strong.
Any changes that you think that you had to incorporate in the production process with the changing nature of all variables during this time, sir?
So many, Nidhi, so many. I'll list a few, not to try and say what a great job we did, but so that hopefully from our experience of being able to open our operations within 4 days of the lockout, that I hope that those who are listening in will be able to get a few hints for their guidance. So changes in our production processes. We have two types of processes: continuous processes and batch processes. We didn't make too much difference yet in our processes because, frankly, nobody's had time to make major changes. However, the usual, of course, happened that we went into social distancing, which I call physical distancing, but there's nothing social about it. And of course, we wore our masks and did all the other precautions that we needed to. One thing that we did in our factories is that trying to operate as quickly as possible and foreseeing the future, we got the help of the government, both center and state. They were very helpful, and I can talk about that later if you wish me to. But we also brought in our workmen. Our managing director, Karan Singh, very far-sighted, he said, look, things may happen for the worse. Even buildings may get locked down, which in fact has happened. And let's bring our people in. Now our top management team rose to the occasion. We call all our people COVID warriors, and not we never use the word employees anywhere. We always use the word associates. A lot of them, the key staff, moved in. They're sleeping in the corridors. We have created space in the gardens. We even thought of bringing in tents with chemical toilets to house more people. So we brought in the key people. We're allowed only 50% of the people, as you know. So we brought in the people that we needed. Our production is in full swing.
Excellent, sir. It sounds as if it's like a warlike situation where your leaders, ACG leaders, rose up like generals, getting all their warriors together to fight this pandemic.
Thank you. The ACG group has always been at war. We're at war to help this country become healthy. We're at war to supply the countries we supply overseas. If you come to my office one day, you'll see that on my door, it says war zone.
Okay. It's a permanent war zone, is it?
Yes, always, for me at least.
That's a good example to cite, sir. Were there any specific product lines or machines which have been impacted more than the others? Like you have capsules, you have films and foils, you have auto inspection solutions and machines. Were there specific sectors which saw more demand and some which lagged behind during this time?
We had continuing demand for our continuous process industries, as you said, for capsule manufacturing and for barrier packaging films. On machinery, we found a little less requirement from customers, but they were also girding up their loins for production. So we had a little respite there, and those factories, we have almost 2,000 people working in a number of engineering companies, mostly in Maharashtra. That took a little slower to take off, but it's back on operation right now. What was really critical was to make sure that our supplies of spare parts and critical other parts did not get affected. Machines could wait for a while, but even machines, we are finding the demand has come up now globally as well as in India, and we are in full-scale production.
Excellent. I think you have over 20,000 installations across. So after sales service, did you use more of e-tools to service the already existing customers online?
That's really important observation. With machines operating in so many countries overseas, what we were able to do is early on, as soon as we could, we planted our people overseas. We already have offices and warehouses in various places, trained staff, and most of our countries we were able to solve their problems. Not all, in all cases, but I'd say at least in 80% of the cases, our customers are quite happy, almost as if things were normal. Remember that in all countries, all customers are not running yet. We also went into a diversification some time back into what is called IIOT, which I'm sure that your viewers are familiar with. It enables us to train our customers as well as enable them to repair their own machines at long distance from anywhere in the world. That, I think, is the future in pharma, as it's going to be in many other industries. And we've been able to take advantage of our early beginning over here.
Excellent, sir. I think all of us were forced to utilize these platforms for after sales as well as installations also. And now the mode after the pandemic, we have all got back to normal, whenever it will resume with these digital ways. The after sales and the installations will see a new phase because everyone has got used to these new platforms, which earlier physical people were required.
This is one of the good things that have come out from this crisis. As you know, always crises have silver linings, and there are other good things that have happened also. May I give you a few examples?
Yes,
so
sir, please.
example, right from factory management and workmen to your neighbors in your building, they all become much more friendly with each other and much more reliant on each other. You know, in a diverse nation like this, with so many different types of people with different backgrounds, very often you don't really get to know each other well. We've been having parties also on TV. I don't know if we're having a good time in this crisis, but it's so important to keep the morale up. So people have got to know each other better. There's much more respect for the workmen, and they're much more heroic efforts that they put in coming and working. And also, I would say that we've learned a lot from this crisis, which will help us in times of greater crisis further on. I think we live in times of crisis, and the sooner we get used to handling them, and in this particular case, in living with COVID, the better off we will be.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Thank you for outlining. Those are the points very well brought, which actually brought out the best out of all human beings in the time of diversity. Sir, coming to the next question, were there any SOS requirements from you for supply of any specific kind of equipment or machinery from across the world during this COVID?
We haven't diversified into other machines. Simply, with us, our design department is to work for a year or two before we bring out a new machine. So there's been no time to bring out anything new. But our current products are in good demand around the world. We've taken years to perfect them. Now, I just want to say something about our people. Our heads of companies mostly live in Mumbai, a couple in other parts of the country. We have a couple of expats working with us, and really they all have risen to the occasion. I'm really proud of them, and I'm sure many other of your watchers companies are proud of their people. They've gone out of their way. Our HR head and their department, imagine marshalling 3,000-4,000 people and getting them to work into multiple factories, and persuading them to come to work, persuading their families to let them go, persuading their building committees that these people are safe, persuading the police to let them come across. All sorts of things have been overcome with the HR department. Our next very important department was supply chain. Here we've taken the precaution of centralizing all supply chain and purchases. They've also risen to the occasion. For example, we rely, as everyone else does, on many smaller companies to give us our parts, particularly for machines. They have phoned 250 suppliers and got them innovated and got the supplies moving. even down to arranging the transportation for them. Let me give you an example. The whole pharma industry, including us, requires paper cartons. Now, we got our 3 carton manufacturers working and ready to supply, but very soon they were start running out of paper. We phoned up the paper mills, got them innovated, got them started to supply the paper to our carton manufacturers so that they could supply to us. So you have to reach back. Everything is interdependent on the country, its country as a whole. And I do hope, I mean, if you like, I'll talk about my views about the lockdown, but I think the sooner we face reality, learn to live with COVID, and get down to normal, the better. There will be some unfortunate uh, unfortunate people who may pass away, but these are people, mostly people with comorbidities or really older people. What we should do is look after them, make sure that they're safe. And we know, all of us families know how to look after our elderly people and then get back to work, which everyone wants to do, I think, in this country.
Very, very well said, sir. I think it is in our culture, at least in India, across the countries also. And everyone will rise to that occasion and also take care of whatever segments you've underlined. Was procuring raw material any difficult in this time?
Like everybody else, there were major problems. We geared them up. We have increased our stocks at an early date. Please remember something. The world was moving towards just-in-time inventory. Bring in the inventory today for tomorrow's requirement. I think, frankly, that's going to be something of the past for years to come. They're all going to be stocked up.
Yes, and I think the raw material prices were so low during this time because of the low prices of oil and less demand that people actually stocked up or took advantage of that price also.
Yes, we didn't get that opportunity, but I'm sure many of your viewers did.
Okay. Any innovations that happened during this time? Because we have come across many companies where they said that, it was not planned, but these 2.5 months, people have been working overtime with whatever they could do. Anything in your company that happened, which you were surprisingly happy?
Well, the innovations were in ways of managing, not in the product line. And that we can talk about for a long time, all the innovations that have been introduced in terms of handling people, managing production. Just imagine, maybe 50% of our management and workforce, as per government regulations, we're producing almost 100% of our production. So what this tremendous learning, tremendous innovation here, thanks to the heads of our companies, capsules, packaging films, engineering and others, who were able to manage this, what I call a miraculous innovation and learning. Now the problem comes when things normalize. What do we do with the other, say 40%, the 10% more we may take in? Well, we have new factories coming up. A lot of them will be reskilled and put in there. Some we may have to request them to retire, but as in our usual way.
Is China a major factor in your raw material or component supplier?
Not really. Sensing the problem that China was having with some other major countries, we felt it wise to diversify our requirements. So we did actually build up alternate suppliers in other countries. The costs were a little more, but the safety factor was much greater. In fact, we have offices in China and we're exporting to China. So I hope that they don't retaliate in the same way.
Okay. How do you see the rest of 2020 or early part of 2021 unfolding, sir?
I think we have to continue living with this sort of crisis. I don't want to sound negative, but we don't know what's going to happen next. And the sooner we really say we have to live with it, let's get back to work, let's get creating wealth, let's pay our taxes. The government needs money very badly. And the last thing we want to happen is to print more notes, because that will lead to inflation and lead to a more harder time for the poor.
Very well said, sir. I was talking also about from the business angle for the pharma sector. Do you see the demand in latter part of 20 as well as 21 going much higher than it was pre-COVID?
The demand will grow at its natural pace. I guess there'll be a huge demand for new medicines for COVID-19, so-called vaccines. That, of course, will help us in developing many other vaccines once we do all this R&D work. Maybe we'll even get a vaccine very quickly for the common cold, which we don't have yet. So that's good things that will happen. But where the demand will really go up is in products which improve your immunity. That's what everybody is going to be conscious of that. Multivitamins, fish oils, the whole world, the area called nutraceuticals, dietary supplements, and so on. That I see a big demand for. It's a small industry in India compared to USA and Europe. And I think those who want to get into this business will really do well.
Great. So that means pharma as well as the nutraceutical sector, as they call it, the demand will continue growing much higher than it was than pre-COVID because of the focus on the immunity.
Particularly on the area which is preventives and immunity giving rather than curing.
Yes, sir. And last question for the day would be that what is your learning which you want to share and your advice to our packaging sector that you have kind of taken away from this pandemic?
Fine. Well, most of what I've told you is our learnings, which I hope I've passed on. And there are some other learnings. You know, look after your people. You realize how important they are. Look after your suppliers. I'm sounding like a preacher now, but you need to know who your suppliers are. Just like you need to know who your customers are. Because the whole thing is one big family, one big supply chain. We don't usually do that. That's what we have learned, and we used to practice it, but we've intensified our efforts in that area. What else? Be ready for pandemics. I've always been a great believer in trying to hire people who live near your workplace. First of all, I really feel bad about the fact that we make them travel for an hour or two every day, each way, and so on. Look at the Chinese. Ever since they started industrializing, they have brought their workmen, they've got quarters inside their factory. You don't get affected by any of the environmental issue. Your people can simply walk to work. Now that may be too much for factories in Bombay, but those people who got factories in semi-rural areas can buy extra land and have their people living near them. We have about 500 apartments we put up in the area of Shirwal, about an hour out of Pune, and that served us really well.
Excellent, sir. I think all the good acts that the organization has been taking, which has been kind of a fiber of your being that comes with leadership, has actually saved and also made ACG one of the leaders where only 4 days, I think it was not functioning. Rest all, everyone has got together and supplied to the world. Thank you so much, sir. It's been really nice to talk to you, and your message will go across to the people where your words of wisdom and sharing your experience, I'm sure people will learn from that. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon on the other side.
Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Bye. For more videos on Insights with Nidhi Verma, please click the playlist tab on your left, and please subscribe to our channel by clicking our logo on the right. Do press the bell icon to never miss a video.